Hey guys, excuse my lovely appearance this evening. It's been a long few days. I'm Jenna, and for my final paper, I will be focusing on Orientalism, comparing and contrasting specifically Aladdin, the Disney's original 1992 version, and then the 2019 remake. So initially, when I was coming up with ideas for papers and whatnot, and then rethinking on this, I had written notes, or like when I was writing my notes throughout the classes, just like kind of ideas here and there. And so I went back and looked at those, and like very back at the very beginning of the semester when we were talking about Orientalism, I had written down Aladdin and like a movie representation by it. So just to kind of spark my memory and some ideas, get some ideas flowing, I turned on the original Aladdin on Disney Plus. And immediately like before anything is played, they have this advisory statement that's put out now before. So I'm going to go ahead and read that to you. I don't know if you guys have been on Disney Plus or watched a movie, like an older movie, and seen this yet, but this was my first time experiencing it, so it was super fascinating. It says this program includes negative depictions and or mistreatment of people or cultures. This stereotype or these stereotypes were wrong then and are wrong now. Rather than remove this content, we want to acknowledge its harmful impact, learn from it, and spark conversation to create a more inclusive future together. Disney is committed to creating stories with inspirational and aspirational themes that reflect the rich diversity of the human experience around the globe. To learn more about how the stories have impacted society, please visit, and it's at this website, www.disney.com/storiesmatter. So I was just like kind of shocked, I guess. I had no idea, so I was like, I felt like it was almost the perfect opportunity to write my paper on this, because I felt like it was a good mesh. Obviously, something like Orientalism is a big topic talked about in anthropology in the larger academic world, but now like kind of seeing it on kind of like larger media platforms and like in pop culture, like the two kind of meshing together was super fascinating. So originally my idea was to kind of talk about or like hone in on representation in movies, and then particularly how like Orientalism affected the cinematic world. And then I was going to compare the two versions of Aladdin. And then after talking to Christy, she kind of helped me like hone in on exactly like how I should go about it and like what to focus on. So it changed a little bit. So I'll read my new kind of question. It says, recently in the media, the debate on Disney and their new take on inclusion has sparked a lot of debate. Is it genuine? Is it enough? Is it sensitizing? A good example of this is comparing Disney's original Aladdin and the 2019 remake. In comparing these two cases, I will examine the implication of Orientalism, the religious undertones, and its significance, and the representation of actors from now and then to argue that although not perfect, Disney's attempt at rewriting the past is a step in the right direction. Also, I don't know if rewriting the past is the right frame, or so if you guys have another idea of how to put that, let me know. I couldn't decide. Anyway, that was a lot, I know. But basically just the idea, kind of first starting off on the advisory, kind of talking about what it is, what it's doing, what the goal is behind it, and then kind of move into arguments on stating like whether or not the advisory is enough. Just kind of looking at the arguments people have made about it. I looked a little bit up some articles. Mostly news articles are stating it's just more fact-based. There's not really much opinion behind it. There were comments that were definitely more opinion-based. I don't know how like how much I could really reference those though. I did find one good Vox article that I really liked that talked about kind of like the origins of Aladdin and then how it became what it is today, and the how Orientalism had an impact on that. So I'll probably draw a lot from that. But then specifically I want to use Aladdin as my like frame of reference and my example on that, and then that's kind of how I will argue my point. But obviously I want to make sure I am tying in our class themes, so Orientalism will be big there, but then also kind of the religious undertones. I noticed, so obviously there's Arabic culture referenced in there a ton, but then there's also Islamic. I noticed in the old version, at one point the Sultan says praise Allah, and I thought that was super fascinating because I had never noticed that before. And then they also say that the palace is modeled after the Taj Mahal in India. So kind of these varying differentiations. I don't know, but yeah, just I would love to hear you guys' take. If you guys have any other articles or if you've heard anything about the Disney Plus advisory, I would love to hear about it. Or just some ideas, thoughts, anything. One thing that Christy did show me that I found that was super fascinating in our meeting was this public policy survey done in 2016. And one of the questions, just to kind of throw it off, was, are you in favor of bombing Agrabah? Which obviously is not a real country. But 30% of the Republicans that took it were in favor of doing that. So I found that super fascinating. Just kind of a random tie. But it's actually also been talked about how Agrabah, like the was named after, or like found on the letters from Baghdad, kind of like rearranging those letters, which was another interesting thing. Just like some random thoughts flowing. But yeah, I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts, questions, anything. I would appreciate any help. So thank you.